Hey, what's up, guys? This is John from TheUndercoverBrony, and I am here with one of the few analysts that is still doing My Little Pony videos, Goldenfox. How are you today, good sir?
I am doing great. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I'm excited to get this interview started.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first question I have for you is something that I ask everyone because it's such a fun and varied answer. But what is your Brony story? How did you get into the fandom?
Ah, yes. The good old tale of how people got into the fandom. Okay, so, yeah, so winding the clocks back to 2011, I first discovered the show when I stumbled upon a video called Ponycraft 2 by the username of Stubbornly Obsolete.
Vengeance doesn't factor into this. Our revolution's about freedom. When you figure it out, let us know. We're waiting on you.
And despite the title and despite the tone that it had, I had a very intriguing interest with the art style that it had. Had a very strong reminiscent of Powerpuff Girls, and that was a big foreshadow that I would realize that, oh yeah, that's the creator's wife who made the show. I then stumbled upon a couple of other people giving positive reviews. It had a positive ratings on a couple of platforms revolving around reviews and everything. So with my sense of curiosity getting to me, I decided to watch one episode, maybe give it a few minutes. And the next thing I know, I finished the pilot episode. The next day, I started to binge watch a few episodes all the way up to the rest of season 1, which was the only season at the time available. So eventually, it started to drive me crazy thinking that I wouldn't expect to like something that was targeted for a younger demographic, but I decided to get it off my chest and make a video about it, and then everybody said that, oh, they're also bronies. I would then discover the brony fandom, and from then on, I started to contribute more to the fandom by posting reviews of that, because prior to that, I used to do movie reviews.
So I do remember that first video, and I noticed that you were just almost embarrassed to kind of admit this. Was that because you didn't know there was a whole fandom that was attached to it at that point, or?
I didn't know too much about the fandom itself. I just hear the name Brony back and forth, but I thought that was just a joke. It wouldn't be until after I made the video that, oh yeah, no, there's this is legit. Like there's a community going on.
So, like you mentioned, your channel did start out with movie reviews, and then ponies came into the picture. Did you intend for your channel to turn full pony, or did it just kind of happen over time?
It kind of just happened over time. And a part of that is because over the period of when I was doing movie reviews, there was always a part of me that I was starting to get cynical and depressed or something that was negative over. And then I just talked about MLP more often, and it was a lot more cathartic and therapeutic, and a lot of other people were happy about it. So over the next couple of years, I would just specifically aim towards just doing pony videos. So yeah, it was over. It was over time.
Okay. Next question I have for you is, what software and equipment do you use for your videos, such as your recording and your editing and whatnot?
Okay, so my video editing software is Sony Vegas, and people either commonly use that or they use Adobe Premiere, and Premiere is just too complex for me at the moment. I periodically use Photoshop and After Effects and just a series of visual editing software to provide some good assets and visual aids. I make my pony assets on what was called Flash, now it's called Animate. And hardware-wise, I use a microphone. I think it's a Yeti, and I attach it, or I set the I attach it to a mic stand, and I set it in a closet, so that way I use it as a recording booth. And even though it's kind of silly that you use it in a closet, it's very close space, and with all the clothes around it, it helps cancel out any echoing, so you can have a very solid recording sound when attached to it. And of course, I use a pop filter. I use a laptop that I used for the longest time, and now I use an actual computer in making videos. And I use the laptop for portable purposes, like I can take it over there and start recording off of Audacity. After recording, I transfer it to my computer, and I start editing out any goof-ups and any mistakes. And from then on, I start working things on Sony Vegas, and from then on, I make sure that it's a solid video before I get it out there.
Well, there's no need to feel strange about recording in a closet. I believe Matt Pat does the same thing for his videos, so you're not alone in that aspect. And I definitely agree with you with Sony Vegas. I use Vegas Pro 10 for my video editing. It's just so much easier to work with. I tried using Premiere myself, and it just, again, like you said, way too complex, especially with all the render settings you can put on it. It was just too much.
It's something that you would have to learn over time, and I just don't have the patience when I got to get videos out there, you know?
Exactly, and Sony Vegas has most of the options you would need anyway, so you can still learn that over time, but have an easier time just starting out as well. So the next question I have for you is, what is the best and the worst thing about doing your reviews and analysis?
Okay, so the best part of it is seeing the videos done, and hopefully like making sure that I'm met to the satisfaction that I have in what I have to say, knowing very well that whatever mistakes are made, that's going to happen regardless. But I think the worst part of making videos, I think that's what you were asking about, is trying to get the scripts ready. And I want to make sure that everything is grammatically correct, and I know what to say, and I provide a lot of detail and insight to make sure that it's a legit video. I mean, some people can just summarize their feelings in like a sentence or two, and trying to go past that, it can be a little challenging and silly.
I totally understand that. I know most of the videos that I do with reviewing, they're more of a podcast sort of format. We don't really have any sort of scripting or anything. We just kind of go off the cuff, and a lot of people seem to like that. But I definitely understand that, doing a lot of these scripting and whatnot, it can definitely be hard to make sure that everything's right before you start the recording for them.
Yeah, proofreading your script and everything. Every now and then I get somebody to help read it for me, and they'll say like, okay, this sentence here you may want to fix, back and forth. So, yeah.
The next question I have for you is, what is your favorite and least favorite videos that you have made?
Ooh, I think it's with no contest, and it's a bit self-indulgent answering this question, but my most proud video is with no contest, do Princess's Dream of Magic Sheep with Keyframe.
I've been judged, I've been pushed around since childhood, and it doesn't help when morals that I have taken into account are ruined by someone else's judgment, that it forces me into a severe condition that I have to question the meaning of myself. Why must I be aggressive over everything? Why must I deal with defeat by judgment? Why can't I be able to choose to be? Am I not good enough for this world? Who am I supposed to be? Why do I ask so many questions at once? Make it stop! Make it stop!
That was a video that took me a year and a half to make. I put it all, it turned into a passion project when, after working with the audio and working with some background music to help give it a very big cinematic kick, I knew that visually this is going to take a really long time. And this was just working with the experience that I had with Flash, with Photoshop, and a wide variety of so many programs. It was giving it my all. And how I was structuring it into somewhat of a story, it came out to be one of the most favorite videos that a lot of people really loved, and I don't blame them for that. As far as my most disappointing video, a video that I would cringe at, that would have to be Philly Vanilli.
Okay.
Yeah, because when I reviewed Philly Vanilli, I was furious at how Pinkie Pie was written, and I got extremely carried away over talking about how I didn't like the character, only to find out that not only did people viciously disagree with me, which, of course, that would happen, but also there were several rumors I was hearing about the writer getting death threats, which put a really guilty ball into the pit of my stomach, so I had to get my feelings out there saying, okay, I did not intend for that to happen. So that was a bit of a pickle that I got in. Additional video to give a shout out to, the video's on private now, and I would never want anybody to watch it. I got very, very upset at what some people said. I basically made a video explaining why I chose not to see Rainbow Rocks, and that's mainly because the The IDW team, which I presumed was affiliated with Hasbro and DHX, they stated that for people who didn't like the first Equestria Girls, it was your fault. And that's very, very neglectful of criticism. And I thought that was very unprofessional on their end. So I got very carried away over that. And so many people called me out on how hypocritical I am acting, taking a moral stand, even when it comes to an understandable reason. So I went and I had to shut that off and make an apology video afterwards. That was another pickle that I got myself into.
Well, I definitely will say that with the Dude Princess's Dream of Magic Sheep, that is, again, one of my favorite videos of yours. I do definitely agree with you in some ways with Philly Vanilli. I also was not a fan of how Pinky was characterized in that episode. But I know personally for me, that didn't take away from the rest of the episode. I still enjoyed it quite a bit.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
If we're talking about the characterization of Pinkie Pie, unfortunately for me, I'm not a big fan of A Friend Indeed, mainly because I feel like that was Philly Vanilli's Pinkie Pie throughout the entire episode. She was so naive. She was just not understanding the value of personal space, and it really irked me.
So many people have said that, and I'm like, I can definitely understand that. Strangely enough, I didn't take issue with that one as it did with Philly Vanilli, because I think the idea with A Friend Indeed is that she needed to understand that, hey, some people just like personal space, and I think she did learn it in some way at that time, because the moral that she said at the end, saying that some ponies or some friends like to go outside and have fun, and others just like to be left alone. And that's fine too. And I thought, you know what, maybe this is just her going through a learning curve that maybe she needs to understand personal space, but I can definitely understand over time why some people took issue with that. But with Philly Vanilli, the thing about Pinky's behavior is that it made the episode frustrating, because Fluttershy was the central focus, and she's dealing with anxiety issues, which is actually a very serious matter. And when Pinky just jumps in, when she climbs the wall and over the banister, I'm like, oh, Pinky, you just ruined a potentially good moment where they could have sat her down and just talked things over. No, you had her run away, and then you have this wild goose chase that was unnecessary, and this is just heavily out of her expense. So it definitely had more cause and effect on that than I would imagine with A Friend Indeed. And I'm not going to say, anybody who has the issue with A Friend Indeed I would look down on, because I fully understand that. I can understand that if it was reality, she would probably go to jail.
Yeah, I think the only good line that Pinky had from Philly Vanilli was where she was hanging on the roof, and she was just like, no offense, but you kind of sounded like a dude. That was about the only good line she had.
I remember that, and I remember that was so tactless until she was like, oh, wait, you were great. It's like, Pinky, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Exactly. Now, going into the whole Equestria Girls thing, I was one of those individuals that I knew it was probably going to be pretty bad. So I went into it with very, very low expectations, and I actually came out pleasantly surprised. Mainly with the relationship between Twilight and Spike. And I know that Megan McCarthy does a phenomenal job with those two.
Oh, absolutely.
Did you ever get a chance to see Rainbow Rocks?
I actually did during my trip at BabsCon, and I actually did think, you know what, maybe I should review it, only to get sidetracked by a bunch of other shit happening. So over the past couple of years, I just watched each and every one of the Equestria Girl movies that just came out, and that was it. I was a part of a React series where we give our thoughts on it. And that was that. Every now and then, I didn't watch too many of the shorts, but I did get the chance of watching Rainbow Rocks, and it was pretty good.
So my next question for you is, everyone knows that you and Keyframe are together. So how did you and Keyframe first meet? And what's that story about?
Okay, so I first discovered her with Silver Quill on Inspiration Manifestation, and I liked the reviewing skills that she provided and the insight that she provided. And then I saw that she was going to be active more on YouTube, and I decided, hey, if you like, I can just add you. And there was a chat group where we have a bunch of analysts. From that point forward, we just enjoyed each other's companies, and it grew to a relationship until I finally gave her a promise ring when we met in person at BabsCon.
That's wonderful. That's really sweet. That's really awesome. So my next question for you is, as everyone knows, you make your own intro music for your videos, and you mainly play guitar with that. How long have you been playing guitar?
I played guitar since I was 13 years old. And even before that, I took cello lessons. At some point, I do plan on making a video going into the full detail of my experience with music. Yeah, I've learned to play guitar when I was 13. Every now and then, Dad would have me with him, and we were jamming together, and he would teach me a few different scales, a few different tricks, and various chords, and several kinds of techniques that I would practice with over time.
Very cool. So the last question I have for you is, do you have any shout-outs you'd like to give?
There's a lot of shout-outs, actually. I enjoy my company with Lightning Bliss, who every now and then we join calls together during streams. We do have a couple of collab videos in the works, or at least one major one, that it's kind of sitting on the back burner for now because she's an incredibly busy bee. Wolfhead Brony, who is hilarious to have an interaction with, along with Logic is here, and the two of them, they join in calls with me during my streams. Solar Flare, who just over the period of just anywhere, he's there and he always provides something fun with his personality. So I'm trying to think of so many other people. There's a lot of online friends who I enjoy interacting still, and at this point, like, I'm going to forget a handful, but that's just who I can think of at the top of my head.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for coming on for this interview. This was a blast to do.
Thank you very much for bringing me into this. It's not very often that I get interviews, so it's nice to become a part of that.
I'm glad you had fun with this. So, as always, that's it from me, John.
All right, and I'm Goldenfox.
And we will talk to you guys later. Peace out, Dragon.